Often when one is creating, they can feel like there's a block. People call these creative blocks. They can be felt as friction, something that feels heavy, unnecessary, too much effort, too much force. Sometimes people express this as resistance. Or a bottleneck. So this bottleneck is actually a good term, a good way of expressing it. Where are you experiencing that bottleneck? Because that bottleneck is a sort of like narrowing. That narrowing is some sort of condition that you're putting on your creativity. That creative expression that wants to just simply flow through you. Where is it feeling like it's narrowed, that it's tight, and that it's being restricted? By your conditioning, by your own limits that you put on your creative expression. That's the bottleneck that I'm speaking of. And you see, that bottleneck, that added friction, that added resistance, can also be seen as that's what's slowing the flow of your creative expression. That's that part that feels unnecessary, heavy, like extra work, effort, unnatural. That's that part that feels like an obligation, that feels like, I wish I didn't have to do this. I like the whole process except for this one thing. If I could just remove this bottleneck, I could just allow it to flow more effortlessly. That bottleneck, that tightening, that narrowing is what you experience as the effort, the resistance, the friction. It's like one or two or three more steps. If I could just simply smooth out those steps, if I could just simply remove those steps, then I could just allow it to flow more freely. And it can't flow freely right now because it's being limited, which is the narrowing of your creative expression. Instead of just allowing it to be open, allowing yourself to be open, fully open, you've limited yourself, creating that very narrowing that I'm calling the bottleneck. Now, what are these limitations that you're putting on your own creativity? There's so many, too many to list. But if you really look at them, those limitations are going to be something that makes you feel safe, protected, something that conceals, hides you in your nakedness. It's sort of like this conditioning that you've put on yourself like clothing, that extra layer, that extra step to put those clothes on that restrict your movement. It feels too tight. You just want to get naked. You just want to be free, to be without that conditioning. But at the same time, you feel that inner tension because a part of you likes the clothing. It's familiar. You've had it on for such a long time. Yes, it feels tight, but it makes you feel safe. Removing the clothing feels unfamiliar. You feel vulnerable when you're naked. There's often those thoughts, what are the people going to think? If I simply am seen as I am, without the polish, without the performance, without the production. And that's the bottleneck. Sorry if I jumped the metaphors there from clothing to now the bottle. That's the bottleneck. That's that narrowing, that friction. It feels like just extra steps. There's a part of you, you just want to dance naked, sort of say. But there's the other part of you that insists on putting on the clothes because it's sort of like a routine thing. So that part of your creative flow that feels heavy, that feels like extra steps, that feels unnecessary, that starts to feel like an obligation, like a burden, like something that is preventing you from simply expressing yourself freely. That's the conditioning. That's the conditioning that you're being asked to let go of. That's the clothing. That's the clothing that you're being invited to remove so that you can just simply be free in your nakedness. And it's that nakedness that feels so liberating. You are open and receptive. You're not forcing your creativity into something that's conditioned. I gotta do it because they say to do it like this. I gotta do it because so-and-so does it like this. It has to look like what everybody wants it to look like. This creativity is wild. It can't be caged by that conditioning. It's raw, wild, and fearless. It doesn't fear what others think. And this is your authentic expression. This is your authentic expression that wants to flow freely. Without being conditioned. Without trying to clone someone else. Without trying to copy the norm. Without trying to dress up like something you're not. Authenticity is the absence of pretense. It doesn't want to pretend anymore. It's not trying to fit in. You don't need to fit in. You know who you are. And to embody who you are requires you to drop. Yeah, that's fine. Thanks for asking. It requires you to simply embody who you are. Requires you to drop the pretense, drop the production, drop the performance. And you see that when that happens, you feel lighter. You've dropped that weight. And you see that it's been so unnecessary. You see that it's actually been holding you back. You see that it's been restricting the flow. That authentic expression wasn't able to flow freely because of the bottleneck. That bottleneck is that conditioned identity. We create our own block. And without that bottleneck, you're simply this empty vessel. You're this open, empty vessel that this creative life force that is your authentic expression simply flows freely. Your life has so much purpose in it. You're purposeful only because you are empty, much like an empty vessel, whether it be a cup, a boat, or a home. It's only of use because of its emptiness. And it's because of that emptiness that it can be filled. You're filled with that potential that wants to be poured. into the life that you're living. When that authenticity is pouring out of you, when you're simply just sharing the life that you live, it's simply the true you, living in your wholeness. Without any restriction, limitation, without any mental block. You're living the freedom that you are. It's not just a freedom to be realized, but it's a freedom to be lived. Your creative expression is liberated because you've liberated yourself from the very limitations that you have created. So if you feel this, what we're calling in this video, this bottleneck, if you feel that weight, that restriction, that limitation, and you're experiencing this in your creativity, because it's so trying to find the right word here. It's something more profound than related, but I'll use the word related because it's so closely related to your art, because art, true art, is an expression of your authenticity. That's why true art comes from your heart. When you're simply expressing your heart freely, how people say, speak freely from your heart. That is your authentic expression. When you speak freely from your heart, when you paint freely from your heart, when you cook freely from your heart, that is your authentic expression without any limitation put on it, without any conditioning put on it, without any restraint. And like that, you pour your heart out on the page. You pour your heart into your cooking. Or whatever you're doing. You dance to the beat of your heart. When you put your heart into everything that you do, your entire life becomes creative. And like that, your life becomes a work of art. It's a masterpiece. It's a liberated life because you're free of the conditions that you've created, the limitations that you have put on yourself. And the life that you are simply moves freely without any resistance. You no longer have that bottleneck. And you feel that aliveness flow within you, where you pour it out freely into everything that you do. You're watching this because you're ready to remove that bottleneck. You're ready to simply allow that aliveness to flow, to express your authenticity freely. You're ready to dance and sing to the beat of your own heart, to pour that love from your heart into everything that you do. And that's my invitation for you. So join me in truth.